You want to talk about yourself at all? Or?
There's not really. I'm 13, go to a very busy middle school.
Which is not so fun. Huh?
No.
So John Paul has autism, ADHD, depression, anxiety, all the things. He was diagnosed with autism at 17 months old. So we've been on our journey for a while. Lots of therapy, a lot. He was having a lot of depression episodes. And I'll probably cry. Lots of suicide talk. We went to therapy, medicines, nothing helped. And so
Yeah.
So Brody came into place. I talked to an old groomer that we had used, and I knew that she was breeding dogs. She did not have a dog that she thought would be a service animal at the time. So I kind of put it off for a little while, called back. She's like, you called me at the right time. And so Karen went out and looked at the litter, and she found Brody for us. So she was able to pick him out. He's been his lifesaver.
Also, can you tell them a little bit about Katie Beckett?
So, I've been with the state of Tennessee working on the Katie Beckett Waiver for a little over 4 years now. Wish I could be a participant as well. We help kids at the age 18 or under get services. They get $10,000 a year if they're on Part B, and we have a Part A that they get up to $15,000. And that can go towards any of their medical costs, and part of that could be a service animal if they qualify. So that would look like their doctor saying this child would benefit, and they have to write a letter for that. So Karen has worked with a lot of our participants. I think you actually saw at least one today. But it's a lifesaver for those kids. So
They're a great organization
Yeah.
to work with, really great. We're really blessed to have some nonprofits that kind of stand in the gap. I'd like to see more of those. The ones that we have the hardest time with having any kind of nonprofit for is the adults with disabilities. We have some Katie Beckett, thank goodness, for the kids. And we have some veterans organizations, about a handful of them that we work with. Some of them only give grants, some of them cover 100%. But the adults really don't have anything at this point. And a lot of them, because of having a disability, aren't making enough money to also train a service dog. So that's a real frustration that we have. Sometimes they're going to churches and trying to get some funding from churches or corporations that their families work for. I'm always telling them I can't keep track of everything that is coming up because a lot of nonprofits come and go. So to go ahead and Google their particular disability and see if there's someone who is providing grants for that. But it's an ongoing issue with adults with disabilities. So I'd like to see more of that.
And I think they are trying to start bridging that gap. They just went through a name change recently, which you may know about. But we were DIDD, and we are now DDA, and we took on the aging part of it as well.
Oh, good. I didn't know that. Yay!
So there are, I think, things in the works. Not sure what that'll look like, but right now my program only goes up until 18, sometimes 19 if they're in the middle of a transition. So,
Right, I'll have to keep up with that.
So they can use their funding towards their service animal.
What is the average price to
It depends on who you ask. If you were to ask, what is the average price to purchase a service dog? You'd hear about $40,000, sometimes as little as $30,000. But that's because the dogs are kept in a program for 2 years, so they've got to be fed, vetted for 2 years, have trainers, have their all of their needs met. The way we do it is cheaper. So our service dogs, with all the training that we do, we can do it cheaper because the owner is actually keeping the dog. You don't have to keep them in, the dogs just rotate in. So ours run between about 11 and 15,000.
Brody, come. Good boy. Brody, heel. Let's go, buddy. Yes, good boy.
Brody, pressure. Good boy. Good pressure.
Brody, circle, circle, circle. Good boy. Stop, down. Good.
Good boy.
And I can give you an example for your school question. That was something that we had kind of teetered on, like, will that happen for him? Will it not? We're still not exactly sure. School is a lot, right? That's a lot, especially middle school, high school. His school is very big, and there's lots of kids, overcrowding, etc. So, you know, I wouldn't even think Brody would be safe in a setting like that. So it would make me very nervous. So what we talked about in his IEP meeting was having me come and bring Brody maybe on his lunch break or something of that nature. You know, maybe once or twice a week, just to calm him, maybe on like test days or something like that. But the school was not hesitant about it. They just said, well, we've never been asked that, so let me check on that. So they were open to it, and they were open to me coming in and letting them be together for a little bit, which was nice.
Katie, have you found that he does his homework better with Brody next to him? We did with our youngest son has dyslexia, and he was always in on some spatial things, and he was always jumping up. I've got to use the bathroom. I've got to get something out of the refrigerator. Just could not sit still. When we put a dog next to him, all of a sudden he started sitting still and doing his homework.
He also had some issues sleeping or restless legs, stuff like that, which we had multiple surgeries for when he was smaller. Then he was able to sleep, but ever since Brody came along, he kind of lays on his legs at night in his bed, and he's a lot more comfortable that way.
That's awesome.
And maybe you covered this already, but you did talk about the Katie Beckett Waiver. But I guess more like what brought you to the, like, I guess my question is tied into, are there perhaps a lot of families that may have, like your son, some of the issues that where the service animal would come in that may not know or be directed?
Oh, absolutely.
So I guess, how did you get to the Katie Beckett?
I've just always kind of been in, I did nonprofit work for a while, and ever since he was diagnosed, 12 years ago-ish, that's been my journey, right? I just find myself always in some type of disability work, whether it's with adults or children. But absolutely every day we get calls from parents like, we're in the program, but we don't really know how to use our funds because we may be like in all these therapies and we're making progress, but we don't need a whole lot. But here are my symptoms for my child. And our case managers are trained pretty well to recognize things that they can offer or suggest. And a lot of times it has been a service animal. Now sometimes, they're maybe timid of it, like, well, what's involved? Am I going to be responsible for the dog nonstop? And it is a big responsibility. I mean, he's like an extra person of our family. So it is a big responsibility, but it's worth it.